Okay, this is the framework for the slate top coffee table that has glazed ceramic tiles set within the slate top, and this is the rest of the table, and it's pretty much complete. Anyway, this was something that we were making for the shop, but it's now turned into a commission. Somebody wants it, so we've made the tiles, and they are currently in the kiln, and I'm drying out somewhere in the kiln at the moment, and I hope that we'll be biscuit firing the tiles tomorrow, and I'll show them to you when they come out of the kiln, but we'll still have to glaze them. Now, those tiles are within the slate top, but the slate top's not going to support them, so we have to rebate these stiles on top of the table, on either side of the table, to accommodate the ply. So what I've done is I've rebated them down to the thickness of the ply, which is 18 mil or 3/4 of an inch, whichever comes first, and I did that on the spindle moulder, and now that's done. So all I've got to do here is finish sanding the table down, because I can see I haven't, and then glue it up, and finally just cut that plywood piece, which is here sitting on the circular saw. I've got to cut that down to width. That's a width, those two sticks there, and I've done that because I just want to check the alignment of this fence here before I start ripping that up, because I do want this piece of ply to be square, and by which I mean I want right angles at all the corners. So you know, I really want to check on the alignment of that, because I don't think it is correctly aligned. Anyway, there we go. That sits on top of the table like that, and it gets hidden by the tiles and the slate top. So we'll see what size we're going to cut or have the slate top cut to. The last one I did was 1200 by 450, and the insert was 590 by 300. However, I won't know what the insert is. It certainly won't be that, because we're using a different clay, so the shrinkage on the clay between the biscuit firing and the glaze firing is going to be different to whatever that was. I'm pretty sure the last ones we did were terracotta, and these are a white earthenware clay, which it takes the decoration in a different way, let's put it like that. But those tiles, as I say, are currently being dried out, so hopefully they'll bisque okay without any misadventures, and then of course we've got the glaze firing on top of that. We do lose a tile in the firing sometimes, but usually, touch wood, usually the bigger ones, the 8-inch ones, and these at 5 inches don't normally cause a problem, but that doesn't mean to say that they 100% won't. It can happen. So there we are. That's the progress of that so far. I'm just going to show you the setup on the spindle moulder, and what I used to cut that out. I'm not doing a tutorial on the spindle moulder for two reasons. First of all, I'm not really qualified to do that, and secondly, I think this is not a typical spindle moulder. This is This is a Mortens MF30, and this is actually a moulder rather than a spindle moulder, because this is a router moulder. If you put a different spindle in it, there's one for a router. It's belt driven, and at the end of each spindle there's a nest of pulleys, and the pulleys are different because the router spindle requires a much higher spindle speed than the spindle moulder does, and this one will go up to about 9,000 RPM, which is probably where it's set at the moment, and that one will go up to 14,000 RPM. And which is far too fast for a spindle moulder, but 9,000 RPM would be too slow for a router bit. Although, you know, it is done, and with very big router bits, that might be okay. But anyway, I won't get into that. So this has got a rebating bit set on it, and I actually put the wood in underneath the rebating bit, and I dropped the rebating bit onto the top of the wood 2 millimeters at a time, and then pushed it down to wherever I wanted to stop it, and pulled it out on the fence, from the fence, away from the cutter bit. So I had to do that a number of times. I only took 2 mil cut every time, because there's always a bit of tear out in hardwood, and that's those rails on top of the table there are oak, and it's quite straight grained oak, but it does tear out a bit. So I took 2 mil at a time till I got down to the bottom, and I did the last two at a millimeter each, so there wouldn't be any tear out, and there wasn't, so I'm quite happy with that. Anyway, that's how I did that, and there are other ways of doing it, and but I think that's my favourite method for doing it. This spindle moulder, incidentally, if you haven't seen this, that spindle there will rotate through 270 degrees, which is unheard of in a spindle moulder. Normally they rock back and forwards over about 45 degrees or something, and but on this one you can turn that, the motor's at the bottom of the spindle, and so if I turn it to 180 degrees, that spindle will be facing downwards towards the table, which if I put that spindle in it instead would turn it into an overhead router, would it not? I can also have this at 90 degrees, horizontal to the table if you like. So if I turned that through 90 degrees, so that spindle there was facing me, and was horizontal over the bed, then that's going to be a tenon, or a mortiser possibly, or anything you want it to be almost. A very, very versatile machine. But the downside of it is that you do have to change the function of the machine, and it is a little bit long-winded to do that, although that is not, don't take that as a criticism of the machine. The machine is pretty good, and if you've got a small workshop, it does mean that you don't have to have dedicated machines for a lot of different purposes, but most people would have because of the time-saving element in you know, if you're making a lot of things and you've got 3 or 4 machines set up to do various operations on whatever it is you're making, then you're going to save yourself a lot of time. Here you'd have to do operation 1 on all the various pieces, and then the second operation, then the third, changing the function of the machine every time. Well, I would say it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, but I don't think that's I don't think that's necessarily true. So in practice, I don't think it's true. So actually don't use the spindle molder that often now. And the reason is that there is quite a lot of downtime in setting the machine up. I've done other films on this, so I won't go into it now. But if you look back through the channel, you'll see there's quite a lot on this machine in it, if you're interested in it. It's certainly, don't think there's another machine like this on the market. It's a Swedish-made machine, and it's got a nice cast iron chassis through there, and a very, very nice sliding table. And actually that chassis also forms the basis of the circular saw they make. And if you do want to look it up, then I don't think these are branded as Mortens machines anymore. I think they're still made in Sweden, but I think you'll find they're now branded as Wood-Mizer. They were Logasol for a while, and I think that is now Wood-Mizer. And they're orange and grey rather than green and grey, for what that's worth. Other than that, it looks to me like it's exact. It's the same machine. I mean, basically, haven't changed it. They just painted it a different colour. And so there we are. That's just by the by. So I'm now going to cut this, and having checked the squareness of basically the operation of that fence on the dimensioning saw, because that's quite important really. And it did snag up a bit the other day, which is actually why I put the riving knife back on it, and just to be safe. And people will tell you, you know, you should never use a circular saw without a riving knife on it, but there are times when you would. And however, you know, be that as it may. Here we go. So yeah, tiles are in the kiln, and there'll be another week before they're completely finished, and then we can order the top, and we'll do a bit of finishing on this table as well, because I think I've tried a lot of different ways of finishing this oak, and I'm just going to do a brief one on that, because I think you might find that quite interesting. Okay, listen guys, it really helps if you like and subscribe. It costs nothing to subscribe to a channel, but it pushes it out a little bit further, and I think pushing information out a bit further is what we should all be doing. And so that would be much appreciated, and thanks for joining us, and please come again.